Welcome to another episode of Let's Talk About Clutter. I'm your host, Margo, a professional organizer specializing in chronic clutter. And today's podcast episode is titled 3 Minimalist Rules to Follow as a Non-Minimalist. That is right. I am not a minimalist, and you don't have to be a minimalist to have a clutter-free home. But there are 3 rules that I follow in my home and life that have made me a much happier and calmer person. And these rules have freed me from an overabundance of things, wasting money, and compulsively shopping, allowing me to focus on stuff that actually matters. And today, I want to share these 3 simple rules with you. Rule number 1, we got to combat that just in case mindset. A few years ago, I had a student in one of my psychology classes. By the way, for a lot of you who don't know, I am actually a psychology professor, as well as a decluttering coach. So a few years ago, I had a student in one of my psychology classes who shared with me that she used to have a ton of clutter and struggled getting rid of it. She felt overly attached to her clothing, gifts people have given her over the years, her high school yearbook, her kids' artwork. It sent pretty much like everything in her house. Then one day, she was woken up at 2 a.m. to the smell of smoke. She quickly scrambled out of bed and realized there was smoke coming into her apartment from the hallway. She ran to wake up her kids, grabbing their coats. It was the middle of winter, you see. Shoes and her purse, scooping up the dog, and shuffled her entire family down the fire escape. They were luckily able to make it out on time with no one getting hurt in the process. However, her entire apartment and most of the building burned down. They lost everything. Such trauma could really impact a person. Imagine losing all of your possessions in an instant. She was, of course, incredibly happy that she and her family were safe and healthy. But what about her things? I asked her, "How are you feeling about losing all of your belongings?" And her response shocked me. She said to me, "Margo, it was a blessing." See, things are just things. They have no feelings, no emotions other than those we place upon them. What many of us don't realize is that we as humans are incredibly adaptable, and that even if we don't have something, we will come up with a creative way to make it work. Now, losing everything in a fire is quite extreme, and most of us would mourn for a long time. But my student felt liberated. She felt like something she struggled with was done for her, and she was so grateful that she can start fresh. What an interesting perspective. While I am a firm believer in having stuff, whether it's for use or simply for happiness, overabundance because we feel we might need an item we haven't needed in 5 years doesn't serve us in a positive way. And it actually keeps us prisoner to our things. Purchasing 20 cans of corn, 6 cleaning products, or even multiple packs of toilet paper fills up the house real quick. And is it practical? Can you run to the store for a multi-purpose cleaner when you run out, or a nail polish? We keep other things for just in case. Clothing because we might go up or down a size. Sweaters we haven't worn in years because, quote, they might come back in style. High heel shoes because we used to rock them 10 years ago and now can barely tolerate wearing them for 5 minutes before our big toe starts to throb. I used to suffer from the just in case mindset, and it wasn't easy to overcome. I had to weigh the pros and cons of such a mindset. Is having a home full of clutter, suffocating me, causing my anxiety symptoms to worsen, really worth the rare chance that I might need that spice I decluttered, or notebook, or a pair of pants? And the answer was no. And this is how I now function in my home. It took me a while, but I have let go of the just in case mindset. I hold on to what we need. And this works particularly well with surprise items. You know, those where like you're looking for something and you encounter, I don't know, some item and you kind of like, you pick it up and you're like, oh my God, I didn't even know I had this. If I didn't know I had it, then there's probably no need to keep it. By the way, if you're looking for help to declutter your entire home, I host a free live decluttering plan workshop every other week on Zoom, where I teach you the art of creating a decluttering plan and how to get started without feeling overwhelmed. I will leave a link to more information in the show notes. Let's move on to Minimalist Rule number 2, and it is to never shop without a list. This one in particular has been a game changer for me. I used to have a lack mindset. So we immigrated here when I was 8 years old from Ukraine, and let's just say we had very little growing up. So when I was old enough to start working and making money, I made it a point to compulsively shop every weekend. The sheer act of buying something made me feel abundant, even when it was random junk I did not need. Fast forward 10 years later, and I had a huge clutter problem on my hands. Curbing my shopping also took time and therapy. Some of our habits stem from childhood trauma. And for new habits to stick, I believe we have to come to terms with the root of the problem. Battling my upbringing demons, I was finally able to break free of that and realize that I don't need to buy stuff just because it says sale, and that I'm just as abundant and safe in my home, more so actually, with less stuff. Since then, I have never shopped without a list. If it's not on the list, I won't buy it. This helps me only stick to what I and my home truly needs, and has helped me combat the random impulse of getting seduced by a lotion or hair product. If I do encounter an item that isn't on the list, but I really want it, I don't buy it. I practice self-discipline. Not easy. And then if I still feel that I want it or need it the next day or the day after that, I go back and purchase it. And that almost never happens, because the truth is that when I die, I won't remember the feeling I got from purchasing a new mug, blender, or t-shirt I had from my high school sweetheart. What I will remember is the trip that I took to the Dominican Republic with my family, or Mother-Daughter Day at the mall, or the many dog park trips with coffee, not the drink, the dog. So give shopping with a list a try and let me know how it goes. Minimalistic rule number 3 is to always have a minimalist wardrobe. Yes, I am not a minimalist, except in my wardrobe. You would laugh if you saw just how little I have. My entire annual wardrobe takes up about 2 dresser drawers. Let's just say I have to make sure that I do laundry weekly, because if I don't, well, I won't really have anything to wear. Many years ago, I stumbled upon something called Project 333 and first learned this concept of capsule wardrobe or wardrobe capsuling. I always get the title mixed up. Anyways, conveniently at a time when I really needed it. I had just gotten divorced, and me and my daughter were downsizing to a tiny apartment. As a 2-year-old, my daughter had a ton of stuff, and so did I. And one of us had to compromise and cut down their wardrobe attire. And yep, you guessed it, my little girl said no. Having only one small closet in my new apartment, there was just no way we would fit with all of her clothing and mine. So I had to take a hit. Then I heard about Project 333 and I was like, okay, super extreme, but heck, I need a way to live on less clothing. So I decided to give it a try. I went through all of my clothing, and for the fall, only left myself 33 items, putting the rest in a bin underneath my bed. And yes, this was for just in case, because don't hate on me, I wasn't sure if this capsule wardrobing thing was actually going to work. And guess what? I survived. And I couldn't believe it. I actually was able to live with less clothing for an entire season. It was awesome. There was no decision fatigue in choosing what to wear. Getting dressed took me like a minute, and I literally was happy wearing every single item. It was mind-blowing. I continued to do this for each season, decluttering as I went, and I also started replacing some of my more cheaper items with more expensive ones that were better quality and more versatile. This wardrobe transformation took more than a year, and I am now down to the bare minimums and literally only own my favorite clothing. I really recommend this practice, and while it might seem incredibly crazy at first, cutting down on the amount of clothing I own has saved me a ton of money in the process and, of course, space. So these are the 3 minimalist rules that I live by, and it has maintained my home subjectively clutter-free. And don't forget, if you want to achieve a clutter-free home this year, learn how hiring me as your decluttering coach can help. I will leave more information in the show notes, and we have an incredible, crazy, wild, mind-blowing sale for the first month. So you don't have to be a minimalist to reap the benefits of having less in your life. You can just declutter the things that no longer serve you in this season of your life. Thank you so much for listening. As always, good luck on your decluttering journey, and remember to be good to yourselves.